Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 4 of learning the soul aligned method. And today is all about aligned action, which is why the title of this is What the fuck is aligned action? Because you hear that phrase a lot in like manifestation world, in the spiritual world. And of course, when we talk about like mindset or whatever, achieving your goals, like it's action, right? So I think you kind of have these like two opposing school of thoughts that you're like, okay, I know action is important, but also like, what does it mean to actually be aligned in action? And the reason why it's the fourth part of what I'm talking about is because it really comes after the first three, right? After alignment to purpose, alignment to the new level of self-worth, and alignment in your process in experimentation. Then the action comes very, very, very easily. Y'all, if there's random cuts in these videos, I apologize. My connection is not great, but I promise it'll be worth watching anyways. So often when we say people are like procrastinating or lazy or whatever, it really just has to do with misalignment to your self-worth and your purpose, and not really knowing how to experiment or what kind of process that you desire, right? And then it's like, I have no idea what action to take. I have no idea what my aligned action is, or I am doing all these things, but I feel burnt out. I feel like nothing is working. So those are the two main ways that kind of outputs. So when we're in aligned action, there's this sort of flow, right? And I would say the flow is like, you have the thought, the idea, the inspiration, the intuition hit you. You feel the excitement in your body, right? It feels like expansive instead of contraction. You're aware that it's at your edge. I talk about courageous action a lot, right? Because often, again, when people are hustling and not seeing the results, it's because they're taking action that is not moving the needle. It's still in the same realm of safety. And when you see people like having breakthroughs or quantum leaps or whatever, there's a moment of inspiration and innovation where you're like, oh, that is kind of a crazy idea. Let me act on it. So I always ask, like, what's your most courageous move right now? What's your most creative move right now? And what have you executed on that? So it's like, you get the creative idea, you get the courageous idea. And maybe there's fear, right? And maybe there's also excitement. And fear and excitement often feel the same. In fact, the way your body responds to fear and excitement is very, very similar. So be able to differentiate that for yourself. It's like, you might think it's fear, but it might just be excitement if you just took a couple of breaths, right? So you feel that excitement, a bit of fear because it's courageous, it's at your edge, it's creative, you've never seen it been done before, and then you immediately go do that thing, right? Instead, this is what happens to most people. They get the idea, and then their ego, the voice of their resistance, immediately shuts it down. And this is what happens when you have low subconscious self-worth, right? It's like, oh, that's not possible for me. That idea's been done before. There's no way anyone would listen to me. It's going to be really shitty. Like, I can't execute it the way that I want to. So usually that's what happens in that stage of receiving the inspiration. And then this voice can continue on during the whole process, right? This has happened to me where I get the idea, I decide to go do it, even while I am doing that action, right? Let's say I'm drawing some illustration or something. The voice can still pop up, which is why mastering yourself, mastering your emotions is so important in all of this. Because a lot of times it's not a skill issue. It's not that you're not skilled enough. It's not that you're not smart or talented enough. What it really is an energetic problem, right? An energetic to mindset problem. And that voice can be coming in during this whole process. It can stop you from actually executing. Then it can stop you from sharing it in the world. This has also happened to me. This happened to me when I tried to launch my first course about healing. I spent a month, y'all, making that course, and then I never launched it. I never launched it because the voice of the resistance came in, right? It was like, and it's so subtle. It's like, to me, it made sense at the time because basically a partner that I was working with stepped out. So I kind of lost the marketing side, right? But it's like, I was too afraid to do that part myself. So the voice of the resistance was like, no one's going to listen to you. Like, what are people going to think of you if you suddenly start talking about health and healing and trying to sell this course? Yada, 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 yada. So we get familiar with the voice of the resistance that's stopping us from taking the action, from actually taking that courageous action. And then we can get to completing that action, right? And the more we complete those actions, the more we uphold our own commitments, that's actually when confidence builds, okay? Confidence is not this like magical thing that all of a sudden you obtain. It's actually courageousness compounded. So courageousness over and over and over and over again. And when you keep acting with courage, with alignment, with that high level of self-worth, then you gain confidence, right? In the beginning, there is no confidence. It's going to feel scary because you're in the unknown. You've never done it before. And that's why mastering the art of knowing what the voice of your resistance is, right? And dismantling that and reprogramming that, because none of that is your fault. None of that was your choice. It's programming from society, from our childhoods. Being constantly told no when we're younger, now when we're older and trying to take action, suddenly our own minds are telling us no from that programming. So just know that none of it's your fault. But now, knowing this information, you have the power to begin to change that voice, right? Especially if you're struggling to take action, but also if you feel like you're taking a lot of action and you're just not making any progress. It usually has to do with the fact that these actions that you're taking, either you have some sort of subconscious block because you're not in alignment. Say you are applying to jobs, but deep down, like you don't want another 9-to-5 job. That's going to stop you. That's going to stop you from going all in, right? That's going to literally energetically block you because people can feel when you're not actually invested. You don't actually want that thing. So then it's like, okay, where are you in misalignment with your purpose, right? Or where are you in misalignment with the process? Is it that you think you have to do all these like networking calls or something, but the best way is actually just to go to events that you're really interested in and meet people more organically? Like even in that case, there is a method where you can get alignment in process, right? And then it's like, okay, if this is something you are really interested in, and it's really just sort of like a misalignment in process of self-worth, then how can we begin to change that? Or maybe deep down, your dream is really something else, right? You actually want to start your own business instead of work another corporate job. So do you see how this sort of like these 4 steps, alignment in purpose, alignment in your self-worth, alignment in your process and in experimentation, and then finally alignment in action, they all sort of work together. And the faster you can almost move through this wheel, right, and check in with yourself of like, okay, is this idea that I'm thinking, is it alignment to purpose? So like, is it alignment to my values, my lifestyle values? How I want to make impact in this world, right? Does it fit into a long-term vision for myself? Then it's like, okay, yes or no. If no, then we can pivot, right? Maybe this is not the thing that you actually want to go after. If yes, then it's like, okay, then what's stopping me from taking action? Is there something in my self-worth? Is there self-doubt there? Do I think I'm not good enough, right? And what's the source of that? How can we begin to reprogram and rewire that? That's the whole part of the self-worth. Or maybe we're not expanded enough to even see that the next thing is possible for us. So how do I begin to expand my realm of possibility? Then it's like, okay, we're more expanded. Now, time to actually tap into our intuition and start to take those baby steps, those half steps, right? And that's all you need to do. I think there's a lot here in our culture right now around like instant gratification. So when you take action for like 2 weeks and you don't see results, you're like, holy shit, I'm a failure, right? This is not working for me. Like, since I am not growing as fast, or I'm not as successful as those people that I see out there in the world on social media or whatever, then it's not going to work for me. This is why I emphasize the half step and also continuous courageous action, right? Something I say is like, I say what I'm going to do. The only factor here is how long it's going to take, which I have absolutely no control over, right? And you don't either. The only thing you have control over is how you feel, how you think, and then the action that you're taking. You have zero control over the outcome. So that's why that's something we have to master, the art of letting go of that, right? And continuously fall in love with the process and take aligned action. And I promise you that's going to get you to the goals that you want to get to. But it's being so aware of the voice of ego that doesn't stop you anymore. It's being so clear on who you are. This is really the purpose part. Being so clear on who you are that you have the self-conviction to move forward on your own goals. You don't need someone else to tell you, oh yeah, you're good at that, you should pursue that. No, you have the conviction to know what you like, what brings you energy, what brings you joy, what brings you the meaning in your life that you want to convey, that you begin to move forward on that without needing anyone else's approval or permission to actually go for it. And then you begin to move so much faster, right? In the beginning, it's going to feel weird. It's going to feel hard. The voice is going to be louder. The voice is going to be louder. I remember when I first, taught my very first live class, it took me way longer to prepare for that. And there are so many more voices, right? Saying, like, you qualified to do this, what are they going to think? All the voices were way louder than they are now. And I remember when I first started sharing my content on my personal platform, the voices were so loud that it literally took me like a week to build up the courage to do that, right? To post that. And now it's like, I'm actually excited to do it because it's like my self-worth is at the level where it's like, I know what I want. I know the value that I can bring to other people. I know I can change people's lives. And there's going to be people who don't resonate, right? There will be people who talk behind my back. But actually, I'm more excited about the people who are going to resonate with my work and that I can help and that we're going to create amazing connections and experiences from. And now that's why I'm excited to share with my personal community, right? My personal audience. So that happened over time. That wasn't overnight. That took months of me constantly sharing, tapping into my intuition, knowing that I had overcome this fear, right, and be courageous about it, for me to finally get to this point where I feel super, super comfortable with it and even excited. So again, it should be called courageous continuous action. I think I'm going to rename it to that because like that's what really alignment at the end of the day needs to include also. Right? You're constantly putting yourself into this process. You're constantly leaning into your own life. Because if you try it for like, a week, 2 weeks, and then you don't see those instant results and you're like, there's something wrong with me again, voice of the ego, and then you stop, of course, you're not going to move towards your dreams. And then you're like, why am I not making any progress towards my goals? It's because you stopped. Right? And that's why aligned action is a whole part of this process, a whole part of this pillar. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this was valuable to you. We've now completed the series of lives. If you are interested in diving more, if you're interested in actually workshopping on this, actually making change in 2025, right? Mastering this process and therefore mastering your life, then I want to invite you to apply to Soul Aligned, a new group program, community, mastermind of creative visionaries who want to realize their dreams And not just their dreams in terms of career, but define what their definition of success is and make that a reality. So it's not just career success or financial success, it's fulfillment, it's joy. It's all of that as career as the whole person. So I invite you to apply Soul Alive. It's going to be the space that I'm pouring everything into for 2025. I'm going to be making it